This is The Stable. Wrestling Podcast's cream of the crop.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Stable, coming to you from the compound. I am Jose Mora, and as always, joined by the Shy Buffalo. And today we are continuing our countdown to Survivor Series in our hometown of Chicago.
In our backyard.
So we are super excited for that. And we are doing the countdown today of the top 5 most memorable debuts at Survivor Series. So that is super exciting. One of the big 4 pay-per-views, and it's had a lot of impact on wrestling. And these wrestlers, these 5 wrestlers in specific, have had a lasting impact on the WWE.
Or maybe it's more.
Or maybe it's more.
But before we get into the debuts and a little bit of the history on Survivor Series, why don't we run down what the current card is for Survivor Series this year, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, let's do that, which the card still does seem a little bit underwhelming. So today we are recording on Tuesday, so you're probably seeing this on Wednesday. But as of now, shockingly, we still only have 5 matches.
5 matches for a big 4.
For a big 4, I don't know what they're going to do with the pre-show. You can't have a match in the pre-show or else you got no main show at this rate. The first match is the men's, so it's going to be a Warren Game style match. So that'll be Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, Jey Uso,
Sami Zayn,
and the World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins versus the Judgment Day, Finn Balor, Dominic Mysterio, JD McDonough, and Senor Money in the Bank, Damian Priest. And then I think we have McIntyre and Randy Orton kind of getting worked in there.
Well, then we heard the rumors that he was going to come back from his surgery at Survivor Series, but then it kind of went dark. But apparently he's going to show up at SmackDown before, and they want to have him fly in the day of to kind of keep all the rumor or all the publicity at a minimum. So we'll see. I think it is going to be Randy Orton. I think we'll see him on SmackDown on Friday.
Oh, yeah, and this is the perfect match for him, coming back from surgery, coming back to action, somewhere we can just work in at a slower pace.
And then we have the Women's War Games match, which is Charlotte Flair, Bianca Belair, Shotzi, and then the recently added The Man, who was not the man on Jeopardy. But and they're going against Damage Control, which is Bayley, the women's champion Io Sky, recently added Asuka, and Zayn.
Should we take a card to the match on Saturday and just have a Jeopardy question when Becky Lynch comes out? Or is that too mean and we'll get kicked out?
Oh, we'll do it. All right.
I just thought about it. Just have like Jeopardy questions up there. And be like, who is not the winner? Becky Lynch.
Yeah. What is turning lemons into lemonade? No, that'd be hilarious. So then following the Women's War Games match is the Women's World Championship, which is Zoe Stark and obviously Mommy
Rhea Ripley.
Rhea Ripley.
All right, and then after that, we'll have the Intercontinental Championship match. I will say this is the one where you and I defer the most. You very much are a fan of The Miz. I am very much a fan of Gunther to the point where I want him to destroy The Miz.
I am a fan of Gunther.
I want him to beat The Miz so bad The Miz doesn't come back till after WrestleMania.
That means The Miz is doing his job, baby.
Yeah.
The Miz is the best Intercontinental Champion of all time, and I do not think he gets the win here, but I do think that he could do some good things with that Black Intercontinental Championship, and he hasn't had that opportunity yet, so I'm excited for that. And then following that is the 5th match on the card, which is, I'll defer to you being...
participating member, the recently added LWO match, Carlito versus Santos Escobar. So there's a little bit of the old school and the new school, and we'll see if this continue this story throughout.
And an apple a day keeps the doctor away. So I'm excited to see. I hope we see that, right?
For sure. I think that's half of Carlito's nostalgia belly right now.
So before we get into the debuts, why don't we just kind of go down what Survivor Series historically is. Well, originally, this was Vince McMahon's way of bringing another pay-per-view to television, right? Because that was their way of hitting the most amount of viewers at the time because there was no internet and what have you. And he was competing with Jim Crockett's Starrcade, yep, bringing those larger-than-life characters on television. But his best idea was, hey, Survivor Series should be a Thanksgiving tradition. That turned out to be a bust, and they ended up moving that to the weekend before the weekend after. But originally, right, they had the turkey on television. It was very comical. But originally, Survivor Series was supposed to be this elimination match, which we're kind of seeing with the War Games, right? Yep. So the War Games is kind of the evolution of a Survivor Series match, but it's where the last man standing or the last team standing is the survivor. And then it evolved into what we now know today with the single matches and what have you, but that wasn't traditionally what a Survivor Series match was.
Yeah, so it has evolved quite a bit, but to his credit, it has maintained, it has turned into a premium live event, right? He wanted a Thanksgiving show. It's not a Thanksgiving show, but it's still around the Thanksgiving date, and it's still kind of that premium fall event that kind of transitions us from SummerSlam into the Royal Rumble, and then this elimination idea has lived on, right? So it has many iterations. Right now we're at the War Game stage, but it's had kind of this elimination, and it gave us probably my favorite wrestling video game of all time, SmackDown vs. Raw 2007.
There you go.
I must have had at least 500 hours on that thing. So it has sustained in a way, and it has turned into a cornerstone for WWE.
And I'll tell you, I do feel Thanksgiving when I start seeing the Survivor Series signs. So yeah, I agree with that statement. My favorite wrestler of all time, as we know, thank you, is The Undertaker, and his debut was actually at Survivor Series. I think we touched on that on our last episode, but there's a lot of larger-than-life wrestlers as well as the icons that are crossover athletes, where people in the mainstream who aren't necessarily wrestling fans could identify with. Undertaker definitely being one. When he came out the first time, do you know what his name was?
Oh, that's a good trivia question. The Undertaker's first...
So at Survivor Series, when The Undertaker was announced... So he was joining Ted DiBiase's team against the American Dream Team with Dusty Rhodes.
Yes.
Right? Nobody knew who the mystery guest was going to be, right?
Right.
And The Undertaker was announced by a very interesting name who if you don't know, you'll understand why later.
Okay. Wait, so you're going to tell us?
Kane.
Right. We knew that.
We did know that.
We knew that.
But it's different spelling, right? It was Cain, which evolved into later his brother Kane, Kane.
Okay.
But right after that Survivor Series match, I believe they dropped the Kane, and he was the dead man, The Undertaker's. Big matches, big debut. I think that's probably the most iconic debut, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then shortly after there, a few years later, we had probably another greatest of all time, and we had The Rock, Dwayne Johnson.
At that time,
debut in 1996.
Rocky Maivia, right?
Yes, kind of as a homage to his family, as a multi-generational star, kind of
third generation. I read earlier today that The Rock was reminiscing about this actual moment, and he said right before he went out, Vince pulled him aside and said, "This is your time, man." And Rock was all nervous. He's like, "What do you mean this is my time?" He's like, "You're gonna win. This is your time." And he was like, "What do you mean?" And he said, "Sink or swim, this is New York City." And sure as hell, that charisma, he went out there, he won the match, and he has been The Rock since.
Yeah, he won his first match and kind of went from there. Did The Undertaker win his first match?
So I don't know who won that match, because The Undertaker came in, and I think in like 90 seconds, he eliminated somebody on the team. I don't remember exactly who it was. And then he ended up taking Dusty Rhodes out of the arena. I think he got disqualified on count out, but him and Dusty Rhodes left, and then they had to finish the match. I believe it was 2-on-2. So I don't remember who the winner was, but The Undertaker didn't finish that match. I know that.
Oh, man, that's a lot of shenanigans for the debut.
I mean, back then, those events weren't what they are today, because today everybody can see them. It was very hard to even watch the pay-per-views back then.
You have to rent the DVD.
Yeah, and it was a spectacle, right? Because now you just see everything. Everybody's a creator. Everybody has something interesting, so there's just so many more things to view, right? Back then, it was like, wow, this is like a circus coming to town, right?
Yeah, it was a big entertainment, a big event.
So after The Rock... Who else? What was another debut? I'm trying to think. I guess we could stay down the same bloodline, if you will. And that was when The Shield actually debuted, right? A Survivor Series. Didn't they come in and they interrupted the Ryback match, right?
They interrupted the main event. They were disguised as the camera crew, and then kind of just popped out and just started beating on everybody. So that was kind of like a foreshadowing of what was going to be the next couple of years with The Shield and WWE.
The next decade, I would say. I mean, what, 2 parts of them, two-thirds of the Shield
have both the championships.
Have both the championships, and the third one left the organization. I mean, who knows what they would be doing with Dean right now? I know I'd like to see Dean back in.
I don't think he's ever coming back.
I don't think so either. I think that's unfortunate. Maybe when they're like 50 or 60 years old, they might do a Shield.
Yeah, like Goldberg style, NWO reunion, that kind of thing.
Okay, I mean, DX at Saudi was kind of cool, right?
Yeah, but the Shield debut, and I think this is the only one on our list that has multiple members. That was a big deal, and they made a big impact. And then obviously,
And they never slowed down. I mean,
they've been hot ever since. Even when they were gone, they were hot. Even through their injuries and through leaving, their return has always been expected.
you could say there was a Shield era, right? I mean, there was the Cena era for a long time where nobody else can do it, right? There was, I mean, the Attitude era was an era in itself, but the Shield really carried that promotion for years, man.
Yeah, first is a stable, then Seth Rollins turning on them, then the whole Roman babyface, folks not liking them, and then Roman turning heel, people liking them. So it's been a lot, and then Seth has just been amazing on his own.
And then, I mean, Roman's the longest running undisputed champion of all time, right?
And then we have the only wrestler with an Olympic gold medal, KurtAngle.
KurtAngle?
Man himself.
He debuted at Wrestle Survivor Series?
He debuted at Survivor Series.
I didn't know that.
He 100% debuted at Survivor Series.
No kidding.
Yeah. He didn't have a broken freaking neck by then.
No.
But he debuted at Survivor Series. So this was a big deal because he was a big package, a big signing for them, right? As an Olympic gold medalist on the roster. So
I saw that he said that he believes that he got his first world championship too early. So when he debuted, he was saying that even Brock had a couple years of training before they threw him on the main screen, right? He was under a year. I think it was like 7-8 months. And they really pushed him right to the top after, I guess, I'm assuming his debut, so Survivor Series. So, yeah, he was saying that at the time he thought that he wasn't ready, but it's kind of like all of our mentalities of people that want to make it like they want it now and they don't want to wait for it. And they pushed him, and he was there for a minute, right?
I mean, he was phenomenal in the ring. He was probably the best in the ring for his time.
And that's what they were commending him for, was just he was so fluid in the ring. And they were very impressed with his ring work, and from there he's drinking milk.
Yeah, a freak athlete, and then just starting that promo with Brock Lesnar, it worked perfectly for them. I wonder who would win in a real wrestling fight.
Brock would kill him.
Not a UFC fight, like a traditional Greco-Roman wrestling fight.
Brock was like he was a college wrestler.
He was a D1 champion, but
Brock would murder KurtAngle.
So how come Brock won no Olympic gold medals?
Well, there's different weight classes, man.
No, KurtAngle won the heavyweight Olympic gold medal.
Oh, Brock would murder KurtAngle in a wrestling match for sure.
No.
Yes, I think that KurtAngle would agree
prime
with that. Yes, absolutely.
No, KurtAngle would not agree with that.
How much?
I do not. Do you think?
You lost your mind.
Do you think that Brock Lesnar would beat KurtAngle in a Greco-Roman wrestling match? All right, so we do have a correction. It's not Greco-Roman. It's called freestyle wrestling. So KurtAngle won a freestyle wrestling Olympic gold medal at the 1996 Olympics in the heavyweight division, which is 90 to 100 kilograms. And those for the mathematically challenged, that is 198 to 220 pounds.
Okay.
So that is the heavyweight, and there's no one in the world that was beating KurtAngle.
Brock Lesnar, when he wrestled in college, was 286.86, wrestling in the 285-pound bracket. And that 65 pounds, I would say, matters a lot. And Brock Lesnar would murder.
Yeah,
you're not winning this one, bro.
You can't.
Nobody out here.
Strength. I think you're wrong.
You're not winning this one.
We are going to put a poll.
Nobody is going to line with you on this one. Nobody's lining with you.
No, I think Brock Lesnar. There's a big difference.
Let's ask them, Kurt. I want to hear from you, Kurt. In a real freestyle wrestling match, are you beating Brock Lesnar?
Absolutely.
In your prime.
Absolutely.
Then I'll follow up with Brock. Brock, in your prime, are you beating KurtAngle in a wrestling match? My money says yes. Love you, Kurt, but my money says yes.
No, KurtAngle. There's a big difference between an NCAA D1 champion and an Olympic gold medal.
And there's a bigger difference in 65 pounds, brother.
Yeah, that's... Okay.
Are you beating me in a wrestling match? In a grappling match?
Yeah, I'm going straight for the ankles. You got no ankles left.
Oh, I do have no ankle. Oh, all right.
So, regardless if he beats Brock Lesnar or not, KurtAngle made a huge splash on the roster as soon as he come in, bringing in his gold medal and bringing in really that charisma and that in-ring ability.
Yeah, I was really impressed with his mic ability, being originally a wrestler, not a entertainer, right? He really did transition into that role of entertainment very well, bridging that gap of sports and entertainment that the WWE is always trying to do.
And now we have a debut that was just a debut for the promotion. So I think all of these up to now were debuts in the wrestling world.
But this was a very heavily anticipated debut.
Yes.
Right? Everybody didn't know when this was going to happen. They wanted this 10 years before, 15 years before. Yeah.
And folks were getting disappointed and essentially lost hope that it wasn't going to happen. But then in 2014, we had Sting's WWE debut at Survivor Series.
Yeah, and he went against your boy, Triple H.
He went against Triple H. This was when he was going around with the bag, kind of just appearing everywhere. And he was very much able to draw quite up a bit of drama and kind of just high expectations for his debut, which is in line with Sting character brings, but he really brought it to life. Well, yes, that was the antagonist, but actually what made this more of a surprise that was actually Sting was not in the match. So it was Team Cena versus the Authority.
Oh, that's right.
And then you had all the shenanigans and everything the Authority's doing. And then at the end of the match, Sting comes in and interferes. So you weren't expecting him, or you may have been expecting him, but he wasn't scheduled or built for the fight. And then he comes in and just kind of gives you that pop and that wow factor. All right, so that's it for the top 5 Survivor Series debuts.
And let us know, would Brock Lesnar or KurtAngle win in a traditional wrestling match in their prime?
At their heaviest.
Whatever weight they were wrestling at. I'm going Brock all day. I don't think it's a question.
I think there's a lot of questions.
What's the question?
I don't know wrestling. Whatever questions there is for wrestling, I got them.
But we'll be on again before Survivor Series, and then we are having the pre-show here in Chicago, so if you will be in the area, let us know. We'd love to hear from you, but we'll either see you at SmackDown or the main event.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Super excited for it.
It's a compound, baby.